summer, and after that I'll be pursuing a thesis at IISc Bangalore in my 4-1. So this session will kind of guide you towards your path when it comes to the core mechanical or chemical branches. And before we start, one thing I would like to tell you is there are not a lot of women-specific opportunities in these branches. In fact, I haven't found any, but I'll just give you a brief about how you can explore your field of interest and what what all things you can try, and then we can take your questions. Yeah, I'll proceed now. Where generally people start with when it comes to core. So there are a lot of. I would say it's always good to be a part of any technical club because it can be it can lay a foundation for you to start with anything technical apart from your acad. So when you join any club, the first thing you do is mostly either you go about learning a language, or you learn some software, or you gain some other skill. And with like while doing that, you can have a rough idea of your interests. You can connect to people of similar interests, so you can get a head start from there. After that, you can also try so generally like we can go so if we uh, talk about first year, like from where a lot of people start, or maybe second year. Some people join technical clubs in second year, some clubs take people in second year. So this is the perfect time to gain a bit of skills before starting anything, because a lot of things in the domain, or a lot of projects may have some prerequisites, and by these skills, or by practicing something regularly, you can also get to know what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Then the next thing that people generally that one can generally go for is to try working with a faculty post that, because it's good to work under some guidance. So people generally try to, so when it comes to mechanical and chemical, people generally get SOPs in their 2-2. So if you wish to do a SOP, you can try approaching the prof in after the midsems of your 2-1. So like how SOPs or DOPs or LOPs work. So since most of you are in second year or first year, you can do a SOP in your, like you can, for the first time you can do is in a SOPs in your 2-2, for which you have to pre-register in 2-1. So for that you'll have to approach a prof. Now how you go about doing this, or like which prof to approach. So what you can do is like you might have a rough idea of your field of interest, or maybe some topic that interests you. So you can just go to the website of the department you wish to work with, and then you can, there is like every faculty has their field of interest mentioned there. And then you can, if like if you are really interested, you can go and look a bit on their Google Scholar profile, where you can find their research articles, and then you can just approach them. You can directly mail them, and like, so a lot of people, as I've written in the just a minute. Yeah, sorry for the interruption. So a lot of people might think at this point that okay, they might be interested in some field, but they don't know anything, or they don't have any experience, or they don't have skills. So no need to worry about that. Just don't hesitate to apply. See, first thing is, the maximum that can happen is that the prof is going to reject you, which is okay. which is not a problem. And the second thing is, since you are a second year or third year student, people don't really expect a lot from you to know. It's just that you have to show some amount of interest in their work. You can go through their research articles, and you can approach them that okay, you are ready to learn whatever skill set is required for the project, and then you wish to work with them. Apart from that, like, this is about going for bits faculties for maybe SOPs, or some faculties also give informal projects first, and then they give you formal projects. Apart from that, you will be having summer holidays, or maybe winter break is not that long, but still you can utilize that. So what you can do is, so these kind of opportunities you can go for both offline or remote. So like, try looking for professors which are outside our institute, maybe some good IITs, or if you wish to go and work there, maybe you can go for an IIT which is near your uh, which is near the place you live. And you can try approaching the professor and tell them that okay, you wish to work with them, and you can join them in the summers and something like that. So this is how, like, you can start. And yes, then if we talk about internships, so we can talk about all kind of internships. So the first ones that comes is research internships. So people generally get into research internships after their second year or third year, when they have a bit of knowledge of their core courses, they have a bit of experience, maybe of working with projects at college, or maybe some projects in their coursework. So there are a lot of standard programs in IITs, IISc, almost all the IITs, and in fact some NITs. So and a lot of universities abroad, all of them have some kind of summer internship programs. So you can apply for that. Apart from that, so some famous programs include MyTax, that then so MyTax is for Canada, then that is for Germany. Then IIS is Indian Academy of Sciences. So they offer internships in various IITs in India only. And then the research internship program for young academians. This is from Ohio State University. So this program is specifically for mechanical and aerospace engineering students. Though the selection ratio is very less, but like, there's no harm in trying. So, and apart from the standard programs, as I mentioned earlier, you can directly approach the professors. You can talk to them, and that you are interested in their work, and you can try. If they agree that okay, you can come to their lab, or you can come to their institute and work with them, then you can also go for that. And one important thing that which comes to research or core in general is that the higher the CGPA, the better it is, which doesn't mean that if you have a low CGPA right now, it's an issue, or you should just drop the option of getting into research or getting into core. You always have a scope of increasing it, since you are in your second year and third year. And apart from that, if you have really good projects on your resume, it can always compensate for your CGPA. But it's just that if it is hard, like, just try. If you can maintain a good CGPA, like, if when it comes to research, it's preferable that if it's around somewhere 8, above 8 is a decent CGPA, above 8.5 is good. So, but again, like, no need to worry about it a lot. It will be fine. Okay. Then the general procedure of research internships is like, the applications. So if I wish to go for a research internship this summer, the application start summer of 2023. The application starts around like so my tax starts in late September, around third week of September, then DAD around October, and a lot of internships are there. So they start around September, and a lot of applications go on till March or April even. So when a lot of these internships will just a second, let the plane pass. Yeah. So a lot of these internships will require LORs. Now, these since another reason that you can apply after your second or third year is that till your second or third year you might have worked a bit with some professor. In your institute or maybe outside the institute, and you will also be done with your PS1, so you can approach your PS faculty or the faculty you have been working with for these LORs. And apart from that, a lot of internships require some sort of SOPs or essays, which include questions like why do you want to do this internship, and something about your areas of interest or your research experience. So this is a long process. Like the applications generally are open for a month, and also so a tip for these applications will be like to start early, because writing these essays and getting LORs, it's all a tedious process. So yes. Apart from that, a lot of people do internships at startups, though there is not a lot to do when it comes to core chemical or mechanical at startups. A lot of times there are some design roles that I found, some analysis roles, like structural analysis roles that I found, and so the for my experience, so I got an opportunity to intern at one of the startups. So what my experience with it was that it is something nice to begin with. It's a new environment, it's a nice environment to experience, but I would say if there is someone with higher knowledge there to guide you, then it's better. But if you think that okay, you are going to be in charge of yourself there, then I would say if you are going for a research path, then I would say it will be better if you can initially work under someone's mentorship. But still, it's a good option to start. Then there are industrial internships as well, which will be similar to your PS1, or maybe your PS1 is might turn out to be an industrial internship. So if you wish to sit for core placements, or you wish to go for a core job off campus, then this PS1 experience of yours, if it's in a core company, maybe so we have a lot of oil and gas companies coming for the for PS. So if this is your aim, then you should consider them, because they give a they are a nice thing to put on your resume if you wish to sit for placements. Yeah. Apart from that, yeah. So just a minute. Yeah. My experience as of so I got the opportunity to experience a bit of all kinds of these internships. So I interned. So during my second year, I interned for a few months at a spaces a startup called Space Innova. So there I was supposed to. I had a 3D design and modeling role there, and it was a nice experience. But again, as I mentioned, there was no one there to guide me. So I took it as an experience, but I did not continue it for very long. Like it was just a 3 month long internship. Apart from that, my PS1 was at Gale India Limited. So it's a oil and gas company. It's a public sector undertaking. So why? So this experience of PS, apart from the learning that I gained there, it was very beneficial during my SIP interviews. So we'll talk about it in some time. And the so one thing about these companies is that some of these if try to choose a company in for your, like when you will be going for your PS1. So try to go for a company that has projects mentioned there, because a lot of time the kind of projects they give is just a case study, so you're not going to learn a lot, though it will come in your resume, but you are not going to learn a lot from a case study. It's just that they'll give you some data and you'll have to understand it. So it's better if you can go about taking a project. And then so right now I'm doing a research internship at IIT Bombay. So there is a research group that offers internships during the semester. So so I got that internship through that. So the three experiences here are like very different, but what I would suggest is that try as much different kind of things as much you can till your second year, or maybe till your third year, and then you can try to understand that what, like, where your interest lies and what will work for you in future. So apart from that, I have done a few projects in college. So yes. And yeah, I would also like to, since we are talking about core, we won't go in a lot of depth about SIPs because this is not a SIP session, but a bit about core SIPs. So I have mentioned a few companies that come for core chemical and mechanical engineering. So there are hello. Am I audible? Hello.
Yeah, you are.
All right. I'll present again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can someone tell me where I was audible?
Guess till like start with the SIP thing only.
All right, all right. Yeah, so we will not talk a lot about SIP, but a bit about the SIP that are offered from the placement unit in the core sector. So there are not a lot of companies that come, and the positions are limited as well. But still, you can give it a try because it's going to be a nice opportunity, anyways. So some companies that came this year are Exxon, JSW, Honeywell, Caterpillar, SKF Bearings, Tata Motors, and Schlumberger. So a lot of companies do have CGPA criteria. So a safe CG would be around 7.5. So a lot of these had it around as 6.5 or 7 as well. But 7.5 is a safe number. Now, when it comes to SIPs, so your interview or any other rounds can be technical or non-technical as well. So when it comes to non-technical things, I think everyone can manage. But when it comes to technical stuff, I would say be thorough with the very basic concepts like. Just a minute, let the plane pass. Yeah. Like a lot of times they'll just themselves ask you what's your favorite subject or what's your favorite topic, and then they'll start questioning about the very basic concepts. So I remember I had one of my interviews. So I also applied for Caterpillar. So there I was not selected. I think it was because I was not very thorough with the definitions as such. Like it's not that you have to like rote learn stuff, but they ask you very very core stuff, very very basic stuff. So like they if you say your favorite subject is thermodynamics, they might ask you some very fundamental concept of it, or some very fundamental law. Or if you say it's fluid mechanics, they might ask you about boundary layer separation, they might ask you about bluff bodies, they might ask you about vortices. So stuff like that, which is very fundamental to the subject and is applied at even at very larger scales. So that is what they need, because as like when it comes to core jobs, the things that you learn here in the college is not directly or as it is applied in your role. So this is what they look for, is like just be clear with your fundamentals. And apart from that, like you can also talk, so in your interviews you can talk about your SOP project or the PS project or any other independent project that you have done before. And one thing that I would say is be very thorough with anything that you have written in your resume. So I think a lot of you might have to prepare your resume for SIPs, I guess around June or July. You are supposed to submit your resume for SIP. So be very careful when you are writing things, and be like, you are supposed to know every single word that you have written there. Like don't just fluke stuff. Be like at least understand what you're writing there. Then there is the aptitude test, which I don't think is a problem. All of you can easily clear that. Then a lot of companies, when it comes to like selection process, there are GDs. So it's just nice, like it will be helpful if you have a bit knowledge of the current affairs that are going on. If I'll just quote an example from the selection process. So JSW had a GD where the topic was something related to the recent purchase of Indian Airlines, or then there was something related to paint industry. So it's nice if you can know a bit about the recent trends going on, like not a lot, like you don't have to go a lot in the depth, or you don't have to know much about politics, but in general, if there are some hot issues going on, it's just nice to go like know about them. And obviously the company that you would want to sit for, you should have some basic idea like what they do, where the headquarters are and stuff like that. uh, yeah. I think Aparna can take over from now.
Yeah, thank you, Darshna. But there's a question, it seems.
Yeah, I had a question for Darshana actually.
Yeah, sure.
So,
Hey,
like when
do the AMS. We can do the AMS session at the last to both of these. Is it fine?
okay, yeah, yeah.
Oh, cool. Arpana, you can start.
Okay, Darshna, can I share from my side so that it will be better and I can handle it?
Sure, sure.
Yeah, thank you. I hope it's visible. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hello?
it is.
Okay. So Darshna has actually given a very good introduction, or let's say a pathway or what you should follow, and it was nice. So let us start. I am a thesis student at Virginia Tech and 18 batch chemistry and a mechanical engineering student, and I'll be joining as a PhD student in the same group this fall. And these are my research interests. We work with theoretical chemistry in particular, many body methods, coupled cluster theory, reduced scaling algorithms, like basically cheap ways to solve the Schrodinger equation and anything that involve electrons. So let's say why thesis. So I'm biased towards thesis because I've been doing thesis. PS is good in itself, but let's say more about thesis now. Thesis is often considered as a direct entry to PhD or academia. So once you work in a group as a thesis student, then it means you got the green card to enter academia, be it master's or PhD. The professor who has invested time and money on you actually want to see results from you. So if you have a long-term goal of doing PhD, then thesis is the best option for you. Now, why thesis? Why is it important, or why is it interesting? We get to understand the work culture in different countries, and we'll be introduced to cutting edge technology. So, be it India or like anywhere else in the world, thesis means you're doing actual research, which will have a research output, and you can see your work being used by others. So that's the research output that you get. And depending on the country and the group that you're selecting, you'll be introduced to like recent technologies which you've just read in newspapers, and you will be actually like developing that technology. So it's a kind of a satisfaction, and whatever you dream, like you can make it true by doing a thesis. Now, talking about work culture, that's very important because in India, we all know. So when we did SOP, LOP, and DOP under professors, they expect you to work a lot. There are two kinds of professors. There are professors who just give you an A grade, even if you just show up for group meetings or not, no matter what you do. There is research output or not, they don't care. They just give you A grade. And there are other professors who are little, strict. They want regular updates. They want some research output, and grading might not be that hard. But they'll just give you. There are some other professors who will kill you. They will make you work a lot, and they'll make you work a lot on the silliest of the stuff, maybe like writing a basic Python script. And they'll say, okay, this is not good enough, this is not fast enough. So those kind of professors are also there. So I think being BIS students, we are introduced to all these kinds of professors who are like, they're professors who just give you A grade no matter what. The professors would actually like help you develop, and who actually want good updates, and there are professors who criticize you for your work. And no matter if you stay up like 40 hours without sleeping and working on your project, still you don't get the acknowledgement. We don't want acknowledgement or recognition, but at least some good stuff from the professor's mouth. So we are immune to these, at least these three kinds of people. So I think people from BITS will enjoy doing thesis outside because you'll see a different new world out, their perspective onto research. There are two kinds of professors that you have to look for: hands-on professors and hands-off professors. There are professors of the third kind all around the world who torment you every day, and they'll ask you, okay, did you do this? Did you do that? And if you like that kind of professors, then good for you. If you want someone to be on your back always, at least in the initial stages, then there are professors like that. But there are professors who are hands off as well. They are like, okay, so they'll ask you, okay, what do you want to work with? What is your aim in life? What is your goal? How do you see yourself in 5 years? So when you're doing thesis, you should have answers to all these questions. Now, about those professors who are hands off, so they'll make you select your project. and they'll give you some initial like inputs, as in, okay, maybe you can, they'll not explicitly say that, but they'll say, okay, maybe you'll start reading this paper, you'll understand some things, you'll not understand a lot of things, but try reading the references, try stalking this professor, their group, and then you get to understand. So there are two spheres of overall development when it comes to thesis. You get to structure your own research, or you will be brought up to this point where you can start doing this thing. So it depends on the professor. And of course, good thesis is a better foundation for higher studies, because you've already, be it one semester thesis or a year-long thesis, you have actually spent at least 6 months working on your project. That means you have a very good foundation. And this has better advantages when it comes to, like, suppose you did thesis and you are planning on continuing a master's or a graduate program, PhD, in the same group. You will be definitely ahead of your peers joining in the same year, because you already know what's happening in the group and like the work culture. Even if you want to shift groups, suppose you did thesis in particular group and you want, okay, let me explore this other group for my PhD. You can always say that, oh yeah, I have worked in this field, so I have the foundation. So typically in a PhD, the first year is actually spent on like reading the basic textbooks, which everyone should read, and doing background study, literature reviews. So first year is just for literature review and understanding your topic. I think if you have a good thesis, you can get away with that and directly move on to your second year, where you give your PhD preliminary exam, and then doing stuff like generating original research proposals and things like that. Now, the thing about thesis is that it's an early entry to academia. So you do stuff when you're very young, you're still an undergrad, and I'm pretty sure by the end of your graduate studies, that is by the end of your PhD, you can see your work being used by others if you like actually work hard and select a group which will achieve you, which will enable you achieve that. And another plus point of thesis is you get to attend conferences and seminars. So at my time here, so I have been in Virginia from last August, so it's almost 9-10 months. I've already attended 3 seminars, and I'll be going for one in the early May. So there you get to present your work. So consider them as your SOP or LOP presentations, which you give near compre. So you don't feel different, because to be very honest, that's one thing BITS, I'm very thankful for BITS, and everyone should be, because BITS has immunized us in terms of like getting good stuff from others, bad stuff from others, anything, you don't care. You are devoted to your work. And are the dualites listening? You can raise a hand, or I don't know, I can't see anything. Are there dualites attending this talk?
Yes.
Okay, nice. So dualites, I'll come to that later. You should explore both of your disciplines, your engineering as well as your the science discipline, because then, see, actually this idea of dual degree is phenomenal in BITS, because you get to do interdisciplinary stuff, which can be the new research later. So that's one thing. And dualites have one more advantage of having like 1 year extra, so you can spend time working in a research lab. So that's also there. So these are the stuff with conferences and seminars. You get to meet new people. You get to see how people see research and what is their approach to solving a problem. Suppose your professor gives you this problem, okay, write a code to solve this issue, or make sure the code runs faster, make the complexity of the code lesser. So if it is an open question, everyone in the group works together, and you get to see people's perspectives, and it's very different from what it is there in India. And you actually feel like, okay, am I not working enough here? Because we are used to this notion of, if there is 24 hours in a day, you sleep for maybe 7-6 hours and the rest of the time you work. But that's not how things work elsewhere. That's why I'm saying we are vaccinated for the worst, but it has its own advantages and disadvantages. The only thing is that be as excited as you are for your research, be it SOP, LOP, small project, a research internship, PS, or anything. Your project should be your utmost priority. And overall personal development. Yeah, we get to see different people. And be it PS or thesis, you have to live by yourself. You have to cook your own food. You have to go grocery shopping. Then you have to clean your house and do research all at the same time. So you actually feel like an adult, you're actually like a person where there's no mess to give you food, or there's no like a guardian or a professor or like anyone there to say, okay, this is how you should go. And if you're living a little away, you should know how to walk to the campus. And if there are some unwanted stuff happening, you should know how to raise your voice. So that's overall personal development. And if there is within groups as well, like there'll be this disagreement and stuff, so you will grow professionally. So how you'll see things from a professional picture, how to handle stuff more politely and with much better professionalism. So that's one thing about. So this is common about both summer internship and thesis, because your life, we actually feel like living your life by yourself, and you actually don't have support. You have to explore things by yourself. So that's one really good thing. So these are some positive things about thesis, but I would say it is early entry to academia, conferences and seminars, and getting to know the work culture. That's the most important thing. And obviously, seeing your work used by others, that's like dream. Now let's say how to get started. So there's a small timeline which I've given here. So I'm a dualite. So I started right after my PS1. So once your PS1 is done, you should start thinking about your PS2 or thesis. So for single degree people, PS1 happen both for single and dual degree. PS1 happens after your second year. So for single degree people, you have 1 year, the entire third year, and you should go for PS2 or thesis in your fourth year. So either in first semester or second semester. So single degree people have 1 year, and for dual degree people, you have third and fourth years, and you go in your fifth year. So you have 2 years to think, and for single degree people, it's just 1 year. So it might look like I have written it for single degree people, but dual degree people should also. I think like it's safe if you follow this, because you have enough time to go through the research and select people. So let's say, how do we get started? So start thinking about your PS2 or thesis in the beginning of your career. That's right after your PS1. So once PS1 is done, the next big agenda of your life is PS2 or thesis. Start thinking about that. Now, like, you should have a solid decision, like, should I go for PS2, should I go for thesis, and always make it a point to write like pros and cons of that decision. So if you actually see pros and cons written down in paper, I feel like you can have good judgments, because you have the plus and minus right in front of your face. So you should, once you have made a solid decision on whether to go for PS2 or thesis, suppose it is thesis, browse through research groups and articles and find what interests you. So a head starts from this, as Darshna said, could be from your projects, from your SOP, or any project type courses that you have done. So explore this through your project type courses. So while you're doing project type courses, talk with your professor, talk with the PhD people who are working under your professor on, okay, how did you get started? Ask your professor, how did you end up in this field? And read more articles. So suppose you read an article and then you're interested. It's like, oh, that's really good work. I feel like I can contribute. Then you literally stalk the authors. You read many other articles. Stalk them in Twitter, LinkedIn, see what they are posting. So you'll be lucky to see a post where they're looking for thesis interns or summer interns. So stalk them, because cutting edge research actually requires fresh minds, that is people right out of undergrad. So we'll see. And then so once you have this, okay, I read about this person, this finds interesting, start preparing an Excel sheet or any table format where you put the, so initially you started with the author of the group and the link to the article that interests you. So you put that, keep on building the Excel sheet. So once it reaches a particular length, or it reaches, let's say, 15 articles, you have to filter them. You can't just go on adding, right? So once it reaches 15 articles, read through them, read other research articles of the same groups. So then you'll filter out some. If you read more articles, you'll be like, okay, that's way too complicated. Or you can say, okay, I think the scope of the project is done. I don't think I can contribute more. And there'll be some projects where you find a loophole and you're like, oh God, I can actually do something new here, or maybe I can learn something new from this group. So keep on adding new columns to those projects where, like, you go to the group website and they obviously say about the open projects. What are the other projects that they are working on? If something interests you, then add more columns. So always think about group funding. I was lucky to have a fully funded thesis here in US. Like it's hard to get funding, especially if you're looking for UK. Like I applied to universities in UK. Universities in UK have really bad funding. Like they'll say things like, I can fund you half, half you have to. So that's all, like, it will make your visa very complicated. So in US it's hard and fast. You get funded, or otherwise you have to show your own funding. So always check group funding, like what are the projects that the professor is getting funded for, and research about the professor. So here the professor came only in the fourth point. So till now we were just looking at the group and the authors. Now you have to see about the professor. So when you come as a J1 student, your professor is nothing but a guardian to you. So that's also important, the kind of person he is. And check their websites if they are specifically looking for interns. So if it is so, then it will be associated with a deadline. Make sure you add that column as well to your Excel sheet. So your Excel sheet will be like a pyramid or inverted pyramid, whatever you want to call it. With you can just look at the Excel sheet and be like, okay, this line, this cell has a lot of columns, so that means that is of interest. If the cell stopped at this line, that's like, okay, you're not interested. So keep on building columns. You can add additional info, like okay, talk with one of the postdocs, talk with someone who's graduated from the group, talk with current PhD students. Once you have, like, almost prioritized that group, talk with them, get to understand the group dynamics, like how things work. And as it is in India, like every group has group meetings, and at least 2 a week. One will be update and one will be a discussion where they present a paper or someone talks about some research. So ask them what are the interesting things that happen in the group, and all those things. What are they? What is the hot issue that they're tackling now? Think about whether you can provide something to that or not. So that's the additional columns that you can add to. You can add more columns, like the location. Is it too cold for me? Yeah, obviously you need to consider your health. You don't want to go and work in, like, let's say Norway, the northern end of Norway. No, that will affect your health. You need your brain to be functional to do research. So consider your health. Suppose you're not that comfortable in, like, really hot climate or really cold climate, don't risk your health. You need a sound mind and body to do research. So be careful. So I have seen people, I'm not against those universities or people applying that they may be healthy, but uh, keep your health as your priority. Don't apply to those very exotic places where it is very far away, and accessibility is important, and obviously, also think about, these things are actually happening, so we should not hide the discrimination. Is it safe for you? Because we are Indians are discriminated everywhere, so think about that as well. So there are many columns that you can add to in this Excel sheet, but once you find a good research group, there are some columns, bad columns, you can let go of, because this will be a once in a life opportunity if you get to work with that professor. So you have to prioritize. Now, I'm pretty sure when you prepare this Excel sheet, you'll end up with at most 10 groups, because you need to spend time, right? 10 groups with a lot of columns. So once you have listed enough, so let's say 10, 10 is more than enough. If you're following this thing, so this is not cold emailing, because you're spending time. Now, once you have shortlisted enough, you need to prioritize. So out of the 10, you should decide, okay, I'm going to mail to 5 groups. You have to decide which 5 groups among the 10. This is very crucial. See, I'm a chemist, so I like this. So this is, you all know what this is, right? It's a Schrodinger's cat. You can't be dead and alive at the same time. So you can't be in 2 groups at the same time. I don't think it's possible. Even though it's possible, I don't think it will be productive. So you need to prioritize. There'll be, a lot of mental confusion. So like, oh God, I want to be in this group because the work is exciting. And then you'll be like, oh, I want to be in this group as well because their work is different. The different excitement. You can't do that. You're just one person. You need to be doing research for one group, and that too fully, like wholehearted research. So remember, we are not Schrodinger's cats. We need one group. Now, once you have prioritized, connect with present and past group members and get to know the group dynamics. You understand, like from outside, a group might look like really good. The research is good, but you should also know what is the relation between the PI and the students and postdocs, and are they taking in new undergrads, are they welcoming to new people. So all those things you'll know if you talk with present and past group members. I would suggest you once you have done, like, you can always post in bits to MS PhD. So that's a Facebook group where there are a lot of seniors ready to help you. And if you have any doubt regarding MS PhD thesis, just post it there, and I'm sure Bitsians are all around. So that's not a group exclusively for Bitsians, because I've seen IITians as well in that. So there will be Indians, at least one Indian who has worked in that group. So you can talk with them, see like how welcoming they are, because you don't want to be mental trauma later. So understand the work, and once you have finalized on that 5 groups. So I took 5 groups, like I started with like hundreds of groups, and then shortlisted and went on filtering, and then in the end I was left with 10 groups with a lot of columns. Then I'm like, okay, I'll mail 5 groups and let's see. Mail 5 groups, and because I don't know why, but maybe because I spent this much time, it was worthwhile. Because if you spend this much time, telling you mail 5 proposals, you will get 5 replies, because you know their work, you have spent enough time understanding the work. So then you have to finalize your resume. Okay, so that's one important. So maybe 2 months before mailing, you should I'll talk about the timeline in a few minutes. So you should finalize your resume. So I would not suggest you sending like CV with your email. You CV and resume are not that different, but keep it concise. A concise CV is a resume. So keep it 1 page, and follow good template, and write what is required. Don't write about your high school and stuff. That's not required. Write what is important. And from your so there's one more thing. Your resume is not just about your research, what you've achieved in life. No, your resume should have elements of the fact that you're a human being. You have life outside research. That's also important. Life outside research. And then create a good email template, a catchy email template. Like if anyone is going for thesis, you like once you have gone through like first 3 points, you can always email me or message me, whatever you want. And a catchy email template saves a lot of time. So there are some, so obviously we mail from the BITS email ID. There are chances that your email might not end up there. It might just go into the crack in the mailbox, it might go to spam. So a catchy email template would avoid that. It will make sure the professor will see that. And this thing also, you should mail early in the morning. So like wherever the time zone is, send the mail around 7 to 8 in the morning, so that the receiver get it at 7 to 8 in the morning, their time. I'm pretty sure you'll get a reply. So all those things you can try around. So a catchy email template and being a little smart helps you a lot. So this, even though it looks strenuous and tedious, you have to spend time. I think this is worth the effort. It's a, I'm not against cold mailing, but I feel like this is in fact a small research project. Sending a small email in itself became a research project because you read many articles and you got to know about the current projects in the group. You'll be so subconsciously you have started working in the group in this way, and then start sending emails. You should spend time on this. You should spend time on resume and an email template. Send quality emails, and if you don't get reply, so you will get reply because you have spent this much time. But in some cases, if you don't get reply in 7 days, so after 1 week, you should send them. If you absolutely want to join that group and to show your enthusiasm, you should send a reminder email as well. And that's a polite email format which you can follow. So this is how I got about doing thesis and what I told my juniors and friends as well, and it has helped them as well. So I'm pretty sure this works. So I'll say how I go. What is it? What was my timeline? So right after my PS1 in my second year, it was COVID. So my PS1 ended in like late July, early August. So I started thinking about thesis or PhD. What should I do again? So I have like this entire third year and fourth year with me to decide about what I'll do in my fifth year. So July, August, I started thinking, and then I'll talk about the opportunities which I got in this gap. But from July, August till the next summer, that's the next July. So June, July, you have 1 year. So in that 1 year, I was just reading papers and getting to know about the open projects. So what could potentially be my contribution. So in order for you to think about your contribution, you should know about the field. So that was all what I was doing in this 1 year. So as I've told you, in this research interest, I was studying about many body methods, couple cluster theory, and I was writing algorithms. Because obviously, if you take a chemistry book, a theoretical or physical chemistry book, in your Gen Chem, you had a part of quantum mechanics, like a Schrodinger equation and I don't know, some Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, wave particle duality. You can actually, so those statements, you can code them. So I was doing that. So if you're in chemistry, you'll know we have 4 courses in physical chemistry, 2 of which deals with like absolute quantum mechanics. So in that they teach about self-consistent field procedure, Hartree-Fock, and certain other perturbation theory. So that's very similar to physics. So I took physics and chemistry textbooks and coded up those theories. So that was what I was doing in this 1 year. I was improving my coding because I eventually knew these groups which I was interested in are method development. They develop algorithms, and that too faster algorithms that like runs in no time, and high performance computing, parallel computing. So all those things I was not introduced to high performance computing or any of those sort before. So I was doing all these things during this time. And I was also doing projects with my second degree professors. That's mechanical engineering. So even though I'm a mechanical engineer, except for like 1 or 2 projects, I have not done like core mechanical. I've always mixed chemistry with mechanical. So if you talk about heat transfer and fluid mechanics, it's like one of the best courses in mechanical engineering. You can mix chemistry with that. I did a project, turbulence chemistry interactions. So modeling that using CFD. So that has a bunch of chemical kinetics and stuff. It was a new thing. Like, it was nice, but it was an SOP. So we were like developing that and thinking about how to, move ahead. It was a short project, and there are obviously people in mechanical engineering who are interested in molecular dynamics. So molecular dynamics is this field that links mechanical, physics, mathematics, and chemistry. So I did two projects with a heat transfer professor on molecular dynamics. So he wanted to study, like, you've seen hydrophilic and hydrophobic surfaces, right? There are surfaces in which water sticks to the surface, water just flows down. So he wanted me to model that because that's essential. So if you're building AC or designing AC or any refrigeration device, there are certain materials that go into it which you can. So there are, I'm not going to the details. There are many benefits of using hydrophobic, or the surface in which water just flows through, instead of surfaces where water sticks to the surface. So we were modeling that. So he wanted a chemistry person, and I applied to his group. So this was a LOP, and LOP and DOP, which I did in bits. So it was both mechanical and chemistry, and I learned a lot from that. So dualites, make use of this. Think about interdisciplinary projects. Stalk your professors. Think about going to their Google Scholar and see, is there any project which they stopped halfway because of lack of your degree, your science degree. Think about how to help them. So this was 1 year of just going through research and understanding. So this was my literature review. Now from that summer to November. So November in your fourth year for dualites. I prepared emails. I shortlisted 5 universities. I spent at least 1 month per email, but it was worth it. So you should send your emails by September to November. So that's at least almost a year before your actual. So if you're planning on going for thesis in fall, that's August, you should send the email at latest by November, because visa is visa takes time. Then you're going as J1 visa. So you need to get the documents from, let's say, US universities mailed to you. So it will take time. So they need to prepare the documents, they need to get it signed and post it to you, and you receive it, you sign it, and then schedule a visa interview. So it will take time, and there's a lot. So all these I don't know what you call that. So all these administrative delays are bound to happen. So I would say a safe shot would be mailing by November, because meanwhile you should not. Mm, this should not affect your studies as well. See, CGPA is important, as Darshna told. And you need a good CGPA. So the thing that, okay, I didn't get any thesis yet, that should not affect your studies. So by November, if you can get things done, if you can draft emails and send emails, I'm pretty sure by within like 3 days you'll get a reply. So if you follow this procedure I'm telling you, you will get replies in 3 days. So by November, December, you have your replies, and they will start your there's obviously you don't have to start initiate conversations. They will talk about funding, because they'll see the effort that you have put into the emails. And once that's done, they might ask for LOI. So keep your LOP professors or any internship you have done. So keep them updated about what you're going to do, so that they can send LORs right on time and your visa process will not be delayed. So once your LOR is sent, they'll start the documentation. They'll ask you for many, many things in between. So there's a constant flow of communication. So your communication with the professor officially started in this time range, like September to November, and you'll be communicating a lot. So once the visa process gets going, it's not that you should ghost your professor. mail them occasionally. If you find the interesting article, mail them, sir, I found this interesting. And if you have a doubt in that article, because obviously you're going to work with him, ask him, sir, I found this, this line catchy in this article, and I find, okay, this could be a possible interpretation. What is your take on this? And ask him, so before I join the group, what do you expect me to learn and come? So he might give you textbooks. He might give you access to certain other like university resources, and you need to, it will be very good if you can complete that and go. So even before your thesis, just this research and this communication with your professor, the professor giving you articles and materials to read, your first year of, you're saving your first year of PhD here. And when you do your thesis, you don't have to spend time on learning stuff. You can start doing stuff. So that's that thing. After sending emails, don't ghost your professors. Be in constant touch. It's not like you should nag them, but mail them like maybe once in 2 or 3 weeks and ask about. You keep reading articles and ask about doubts and ask about new materials. So they'll give you. So you will have a project even before you reach the particular universities, and then travel plans and all those things. It's a lot of work, but if you follow this thing, I think it will work. And for single degree people, start right after your PS when you have lesser time, so you don't have time to relax in between. If you are absolutely passionate about thesis, that depends actually on when you're going for thesis, in the first semester or second semester, but you don't have this 1 year gap here. So for single degree people, just erase this summer. So from July you start your work, and next September you should have your mails drafted. So just in that 1 year, you have to go through articles, filter them, make good mental decisions and things like that. It'll be a little cramped for single degree people, but you have a lot of time. Dual degree people, you have a lot of time. You can actually do summer internships in between. So this was how I got about going about thesis, and it worked. It even worked for my friends, and all of them are doing good in life. So this was my start. So it started with COVID. It was lucky, and there was a PS1. I did it in DO research. It was quantum mechanics, molecular mechanics. So we were simulating a mechanical problem, but through quantum mechanics. So this was the turning point in my life. So before COVID, I was working in polymer. So after this project, I told my polymer professor, ma'am, I feel like quantum mechanics is what interests me. And then she was open enough. She's like, yeah, that's good. You made this decision. And then right after my PS1, I got this opportunity to work with a professor in UC Berkeley. Read your emails. This was a BITS alumni actually. So, and he sent a email asking for interns. So this was actually for thesis people. I didn't know about that. So I saw UC Berkeley. It's a good name for chemistry, and I saw his work was on spin dynamics, because obviously that uses quantum mechanics. Anything in electron and spin interests me. So I emailed him. Like, okay, sir, I read his papers. So I spent like almost one month reading his papers, understanding the work, and thinking about where I can be of use. So then I sent emails, and I didn't get reply for one week. So I was like, okay, I got rejected because it was meant for thesis people. I simply applied. And then he's like, yeah. He emailed me after 1 week saying, yeah, there's a spot open, so you can join the group. So I worked with this group in UC Berkeley right after my second year, and it was a very good work which we did spin dynamics, magnetism. You see these NMR, magnetic resonance MRI machines when you go for taking scan. So we were making really small such machines using the idea of quantum computers. That's like really cold atoms, and you dope them. So I'm not going into details, but then exploring spin. So that's what we did in UC Berkeley. So that was actually a theoretical chemistry project. And then I was waiting for bits to open. Bits didn't open. it was still COVID. So then I live in Mumbai, like 5 minutes away from IIT Bombay. So I emailed a professor from Bombay because I was like, okay, anyway, I'm sitting at home and courses are not that hectic because it's online. Like, okay, let's email a professor from IIT Bombay. I went through the faculty profiles and there's this professor which interests me. He was working on many body methods. That's like a lot of electrons in the system and you develop algorithms to solve for that. So if you have a lot of electrons, you need, well, it's not very straightforward, but it's nice. So I learned about this theory from him. So he spent a solid 1 year teaching me many body methods and couple cluster theory. I would say he's my guru. And then after once bits reopened, I was doing projects. So I had to finish one more chemistry project and two mechanical projects. So I did an electronic structure calculation of ionic liquids, that's like molten sodium-based compounds, and we were doing some functional calculations on that. And in mechanical, as I told you, we were doing molecular dynamics simulation for heat transfer. Actually, this IIT Bombay person, so once I made like a sufficiently big Excel sheet, we sat together and he filtered out some professors. He's like, okay, I know this professor. He's not good. Don't go to his group. So always use your resources. He was a very good advisor. He helped me filter out a major chunk. He's like, okay, this person is really good, but his group is so big, so you won't get attention or you won't grow professionally. Okay, there are big institutes with big people, but that's not always good for you. So this guy helped me a lot, and we're still in touch. I message him, like email him every 3 weeks, sending an article, or he sends an article. And now I hope I'll be back in May, and June, July, I'll be there. August, I have to come back. So June, July, I'll be working with the same professor because he's like, yeah, there's one open project in this group. And think about there's one more thing. Like BITS has collaborations with certain universities abroad. Think about that as well because that can ease your visa process. So after LOP, DOP, my 4th year was done. Now, then I came to Virginia Tech. Now I'm working on couple cluster and solvation. So in my first semester, the last semester, I worked on an automatic equation generator for spin adapter couple cluster. So you derive equations, write Python codes to derive this equation over here. And then we wrote a script to change this equation to programmable language. So it just generates this equation. You can just feed it to any program and it will give you the output. So that's what we did, and it was very nice. It's a very general software now which can be open source. And we basically, like, all these people over here are dealing with solving this equation. This is your famous Schrodinger equation. Now this semester right now I'm working on like determination of optical properties by modeling complex solvent effects. It's a multi-level molecular dynamics and density functional approach. So in this you can see there's a glucose surrounded by water. So different cutoff distances and how water will affect the spectrum. So this is a Raman optical activity. So when light passes, you have learned in your general chemistry about stereochemistry, right? If light passes through a chiral center, the light shifts its direction. So we are learning about that. So that's my work at VP, and right now I'm very much enjoying. So make use of your time. Dualites, make use of this big gap. Do internships. So this UC Berkeley, IIT Bombay, all these things I did. IIT Bombay was like the turning point. He was an assistant professor. He just joined in 2019 when I was working under him. So he was just 1 year into the program, and he was really helpful on filtering a lot. So use your advisors to do a lot of things. They'll be more than happy to help you. So this is it. Thank you. If you have any doubts, any questions, you can ask.
Yeah, thank you, Darshna and Aparna. That was a experience. And for